Welcome back, everyone. Hi, I'm so sorry for the network issues we had earlier. I've switched Wi-Fi's now, and hopefully, this one is going to go without any hiccups. If you're just joining, I'm going to be starting all over again. So just in case it's the first time you're joining, you can know what we're talking about. Of course, it also says that as the heading of this live today. So before we go into discussion, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Roseline and I work with Negxy Concept Limited. Today we're going to be answering some questions that you guys might have, and also a lot of questions that we get. In fact, every day been getting loads and loads and loads of questions, loads and loads of worries. And this was a topic that we had discussed a couple of weeks back, and it seems like the issue has actually gotten slightly worse, or a lot worse, as there are certain things or certain factors that has to be considered now. And what I'm talking about is the student visa delays from the UKVI. So there's been lots and lots of delays. In fact, it's like we have more people whose application is being delayed than we have people whose application is being decided within the time frame that is stipulated for the standard processing as well as the priority processing. So we've had people who have been waiting for 6 weeks, 5 weeks, 7 weeks, 8 weeks, and personally, I have seen someone who has been waiting for 9 weeks for a decision and still nothing. So this is what we're going to be talking about today, and what you can do in case you're actually having such an issue. Um, so if you want to know about NSF, non-straightforward emails, I'm going to direct you to our other video because we have actually discussed this, just so that we're not taking so much time in discussing something we already have content on. So you can go to our Instagram, scroll through our videos, you will be finding that particular video, or you can go to our YouTube because this video is that video was uploaded on YouTube, and this video is also going to go on YouTube, so you can go there to watch the other video. So for today, I'm going to be giving updates, and if you have questions here, I'm going to be answering those questions so that you know what to do, and if you have to take any action, you can start taking those actions. So for people who do not know what NSF is, I said before, it means non-straightforward email. This is an email you get from the UKVI when there is an issue with your application. It might be because there are certain documents that you have not provided, or they want additional documents, like documents in addition to the ones that you have provided. You might be receiving such an email. Also, if they're looking to interview you because there are certain questions they need you to answer for directly, you might be getting an interview invite. So my screen just became a bit dark, so I don't know why. Maybe this is a problem with iPhone. Okay, I think it's a bit lighter now. Maybe this. Still dark. Okay, so if you need to provide, if they need to schedule an interview with you, might be virtual through Microsoft Teams, or you might need to go to the embassy. So depending on the country that you're in, you might need to make your way to the embassy. So usually, from what we had experienced in the past, when you're going to receive an NSF email, it comes shortly after your biometrics have been submitted, when your application has gone in. So the very maybe next day or a couple of days after the application has gone in, you might be receiving an email like that. And if the email comes with not a follow-up email requesting for certain documents, then you know that that's what was needed, and you're given 10 days to provide those documents. So I'm just going to run through some of the things that you might be requested, that you might be asked to provide. So you might be asked to provide additional financial documents, an updated financial bank statement. You might be asked to provide evidence of your relationship if you are married and you have to provide evidence for your spouse. You might be asked to provide additional work references to see what you have been doing within the time frame of your previous study and your new study. Now I'm referring to people going for masters, right? You might also be requested to provide evidence of your educational background if you are maybe going for a course that is not very related to the course that you're going for now. They might want to see if you've had maybe additional trainings, or if there's anything that is relating to the new course that you're currently wanting to go for. So it might be anything as such. Also, it might be something that is peculiar to you as a person. So you might have had previous history with the UKVI, maybe a previous refusal, maybe a previous ban, or maybe a previous successful visit visa. Now, if there are additional information that you have provided in your previous application, they might be needing updates in your new application, and especially if you have not had the opportunity to provide that update. So these might be the reasons why you would receive an NSF and also be requested to provide documents. Now, another reason you receive an NSF email, I'm going to read one of it. It's 2 times, but I'm going to read this particular one. Just hold on, I'm going to read it from my phone. So it goes like this. Dear, your name, regarding your visa application with your details. Thank you for applying for a UK visa. Your visa application has been received and is under consideration. We aim to process non-settlement applications within 15 working days, unless you have opted for the priority visa service, and settlement application within 120 days. Unfortunately, the processing of your application has not been straightforward, and we will be unable to decide your application within our customer service targets. We are continuing to work on your application and aim to make a decision as soon as possible. We will write you again if there is any change to this. Please do not attend the visa application center until you have been advised that your application has been decided and your passport is ready for collection. So a lot of people get this email, and honestly, initially what this email signified was that your application was not going to be able to be completed within the timeline. So if it's priority, maybe 5 days; if it's super priority, 1 to 2 days; and if it's standard, 15 days. So if you paid, like I have someone who paid for super priority, and application took almost 2 weeks. She was supposed to get it within 1 to 2 days, but it took almost 2 weeks for her to get it. And then you have people who have been on a priority visa service processing timeline, and then you've been waiting for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks instead of 1 week. Now, what this means is that they are not going to be able to finish your processing within the stipulated timeline. So you should allow for maybe a couple of days or a couple of weeks. Now, in addition to this, we're now seeing a lot of updates, right? So people who have received this email 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks ago, and who are just simply waiting for their visa to come out, are now being invited for interviews, right? So you're requested to come for an interview, a credibility interview, where there are certain questions that the visa officer maybe is still not satisfied with your application, and then they need you to clarify it by yourself. So we're seeing an increase in this, and this is not just for Nigerians, because we've had lots of inquiries from all around the world, from Asia, from other African countries, and it's the same thing that is happening. Now, this is something that was not popular, I would say, in January or even last year for September intake, or even previous years. There were cases where you had to maybe go for an interview, but the amount of people we found going for interviews was like a minuscule number. Or like now, where we're having almost everyone having to either provide certain documents or go for an interview. Also, another thing you must also consider is that at this time, most schools have already reached their latest start dates, either reached or are about to reach. So for some schools, it's this Friday. For a lot of schools, it was last Friday. For people who are lucky to have a date that is beyond this Friday, then you're lucky you still have some time to work with. But for some people who it was last week, some schools have given them the grace till this week. But even this week, there's still no updates for some people. Now, what you can do is to contact your school. Unfortunately, you will now be at the mercy of your school if the UKVI is still yet to give you a decision. Now, we've had a lot of people who have escalated their issues to the UKVI through paid mail or paid phone calls, and I'm just going to give you one of the generic message that a lot of people get. It really doesn't do so much in terms of fast tracking your application, but it just maybe helps you to calm your anxiety that your application is actually being worked on. Okay, so just give me a moment. I'm going to read. Why is my phone? Okay, so this is strange. Just give me a moment. All right. So when you send an inquiry, you can get a message such as this. Please, thank you for your inquiry. Please accept our apologies for the delay in replying. Having checked your application, I can see your case is currently under consideration and is being worked on. As we have previously advised, the processing of your application has not been straightforward, and we will be unable to decide this within our customer service targets. So this is a sample of what you might receive if you're going to opt for the paid mail. Another type of email that you might receive is, thank you for your inquiry. Please accept our apologies. Having checked your application, I can see that your case is being worked on. Unfortunately, the processing of your application has not been straightforward, and will be unable to decide your application within customer service targets. We are continuing to work on your application and aim to make a decision as soon as possible. So basically, you're going to be getting an email letting you know that your application is being worked on. Now, if there has been a decision, you're going to get an email stating that a decision has been made on your application, and you should wait for update from UKVI informing you on when to go and pick up your passport. So there's almost actually nothing you can do to fast track this, whether you paid for super priority, paid for priority, or you're using the standard application service. Now, for people who have schools that their resumption date was last week or this week, you are now at the mercy of your school. If your school, I don't even understand why this thing is so dark. Okay, maybe I use this. Okay, I don't even understand why this. Honestly, guys, I'm so sorry if you're unable to see my face. Instagram just where I am is actually really bright. It's the phone that has decided to include filters that I have not asked it to include. Okay, so maybe I'm going to work with this. Okay, maybe this works. Okay, so you're at the mercy of your school. So for a lot of schools, they have given graces of maybe 1 week, maybe 2 weeks, but some school has not given this, and we've seen a lot of people who have had to defer their admission, or they've been automatically deferred. So what can you do if you receive an automatic deferral? Well, this means that if you're still interested in going to the school, then you would receive a new admission offer, right? You need to inform the school that you're interested in going in January if the course is also offered in January. You receive a new offer. If you had to go through any pre-CAS or any other checks before receiving your CAS, you will need to go through that process again. Fortunately, you have already made enough payments for you to go through this process quicker than people who are just applying for January. So you might be among the first people to be able to receive your CAS. Now, the advice I'm going to give you is that what we're seeing in September will most likely also happen in January. So the earlier the better when it comes to visa application. The earlier the better, right? So if you're going to be deferring to January, try as much as possible to finish your process on or before first, second week of November, so you have enough time to apply pending when your school is supposed to resume, which is going to be around first, second, third week of January. So if that is your case, now for a lot of people, this is not a positive news for them, because September is the last time they can go with their families. So if you have applied for your visa with your family and you're still awaiting decision, then if you're deferring to January, then unfortunately you will not be able to go with your family. The only other option you have is to apply to a school that is that has the December intake. There are a couple of schools that still have December intake that you can apply to. But what that means is that you will not be, apologies for my son, I'm working from home and he's crying, right? So please apologize. So what that means is that you might have to start another 28-day reading on your bank statement. You might need to make another application, pay another school fees, and start the process all over again. And maybe this time you might want to figure out why there is a delay on your application, because for a lot of people this delay is beyond just administrative processing timeline, right? A lot of people are receiving interview invites. Why are they receiving interview invites? If you've had previous history, if you are newly married, and some of you who are married here would notice that if you're applying for your partner, you now have further questions you need to answer. If you've been living together for up to 2 years, how long you've been married, and so on and so forth. So if you have been married for less than 2 years, you might need to attend an interview. And I'm going to be giving you some of the questions, but briefly, let me finish what I'm talking about. So if you're invited to attend an interview, there are certain questions that you might need to answer for. Also, you might also be requested to come for an interview if you have previous history with the UKVI, or if your application is, maybe you haven't applied for your visa in a way that is straightforward. So if you have maybe attached documents that are not verifiable, or they really can't tell what your work history is, they really can't tell they can't link your work history to the current course you're going for, or your previous course of study, they can't link it to your course that you're going for. They might want to have a credibility interview to check that you're genuine, right? So one of the criteria you need to fulfill to get your visa is that you are a genuine student. So we've had people who have gotten refusals because they have been deemed not genuine. So there's no specific reason that's going to be given, such as a document that was not provided, or fictitious documents, or whatever. None. It just states that you are not a genuine student, and this is because they have deemed that your application for a study visa is so that you can gain entrance into the UK, not necessarily because you want to gain further education. Okay, so they might actually be calling for an interview just to see if you're actually a genuine student. So if you have the time, your school has given you allowance, say maybe another 1 week or till the end of October, then maybe at this point you just pray. Like, there's really nothing, no ultimate advice that I can give to. I don't know why, I honestly don't know why I'm dark, so maybe I sit up like this, a bit lighter like this. So there's really no specific advice I can give to you to help you to fast track this. But if your school has been generous to give you more time, then maybe you have more time to work with. So what you don't want to do, you don't want to buy your tickets until you have had a decision. You don't want to make any lasting financial decisions, such as selling your properties, maybe taking out, I don't know, loans or whatever, in anticipation of your visa. You might not want to do all that because you are at risk of getting your admission deferred. And if that happens and you've sold off your properties or you've gotten a ticket, then you're going to be losing additional money in addition to the money you have already spent for your visa and your school and everything, right? So you don't want to do that. So what kind of interview questions should you prepare for if you are invited for an interview? So if you're invited for an interview, they don't tell you why. So the reason I said, if you're recently married, if you have previous history, if you're your application is not straightforward, blah blah blah, then you might be invited, but you are not told this. So everybody goes through almost the same generic type of questions, and then maybe within these questions they might now pinpoint certain areas that they are particularly interested in. So if so for instance, if you did a precast, then you already have prepared somewhat for a credibility interview with the UKVI. So they're going to ask you about your interest, why the UK, why that particular school, why the course you have selected, why this course, how your work history, your educational background, what your future goals are. So why have you decided on this course? What are you going to do when you're done with this particular course? Then they might now go into other questions that are applicable to you. So if you're married, they might want to ask details about your spouse or your sponsor, right? What do they do? If they are going with you, what are they going to do when they get to the UK? Of course, they are giving you moral, maybe financial support. If they are sponsoring you, they might want to know how they are able to afford to sponsor you, something like that. Now, if you had previous visa history, especially if it's in the negative, then you might want to answer other questions about your previous application. So they might want to ask, okay, you applied for a visit visa 2 years ago. Why did you apply for this? What were you going to do? Who was going to sponsor that trip? So maybe just some questions around that. Now, a lot of people that have had this interview invite have been successful. We've had countless of people come to us, we prep, and then we'll be successful. However, we've also gotten information from some people who have failed this interview. And the reason for their failure is really some very minute issues. If you're really interested in going to study, you know the reason why you're going. You should be able to answer specific questions that relate to your study. It's not rocket science. It's basically about you, your interest in the UK, your interest in the course, why you have selected your school. So I know someone who was denied because she couldn't answer questions about the location of her school. So if you're going to a particular school, you want to know maybe their address, where they are located in the UK. You want to have the cost, your fees. What's the cost of your fees? How much have you paid? What is the balance? You want to talk about your accommodation, and that your maybe the research you have made. What's the average accommodation cost in the area? How much are you budgeting for this? Have you started contacting landlords? Have you looked at websites? You have to have interest in the school. You're going there for practically 1 year. You have to live there, you have to school there, and you need to have that interest. So if you're not able to answer questions about the school you're going to, and you're going to be in for a couple of months up to a year, then it seems that you're not a genuine student. So these there are lots of questions under each subtopic, such as questions under your work history, questions under your educational history, about the school, about the UK, that if you contact us personally, we can provide to you. But of course, I can't go through all that here. So there are certain questions that you need to be able to provide. You need to be able to talk about your course of study. You need to be able to mention certain modules, how they apply to what you want to do in the future, or what you have done in the past that you now want more insight into, on your ability to maybe do it in a more professional way. It all depends, right? But you need to be able to talk about this. So even if they are calling you for a specific reason, they're going to go through all these checks, right, before they finally end with the question that brought the interview in the first place. So what do you do when you receive an email for an interview? So there are two things you can do. The first thing you can do is accept. So you are going to be scheduled for an interview, and you're going to be told a particular time the interview is going to hold. If this time does not work for you, you can actually reply the email letting them know that you will not be available and you want a reschedule. But this is a bit risky because you might not get an instant response, right? So it might take a couple of days. It might be immediate, or it might actually take a couple of days for you to get a response to actually select a date. So the best thing really is to either work with their timeline, the date they've chosen for you, But if it is too far, say maybe today Wednesday they scheduled you for Monday next week, and you want it closer, maybe like tomorrow for instance, and you send an email, you might be lucky to get an email letting you know that you have been rescheduled for tomorrow. So if you're bringing it closer, then there's really no risk, you can bring it closer. But if you're taking it farther, then there might be a risk that you might not be able to get a closer date. And what this means that you are lengthening the timeline it will take for your visa decision to come out. So without that interview, I'm sorry, you're not going to get a decision. If you fail to attend the interview, you're as well letting them know that they should reject you. Do you understand? So you need to attend the interview. And after attending the interview, say within a couple of days to about a week, you should be getting a response. So it might be a positive response, and then it might be a negative response. So for people who their school have deferred, what can you do if the timeline doesn't work for you anymore? So for instance, you might have been deferred automatically from last week, and your visa decision is still ongoing. Well, if you wait and you get the visa, you still cannot use the visa to go into the UK, so it's as good as wasted. So what you can do, if you have deferred and deferment is maybe in process or has been accepted, or you have rejected it and you don't want to go to school, it all depends. But if you have deferred and you still want to go with the school, you can actually email the UKVI letting them know that you no longer have, sorry, I'm getting that, I have no idea why this thing is like this, I have no idea. So you can let them know that you have been deferred and that you would maybe want to pause your application until you get a new CAS. So if you get a new CAS for maybe the January intake, then you can supply that and then you can continue application. So what this does for you is that your IHS fee is not wasted, your visa fee is not wasted. But this is a process that you might want to have guidance on, so you can contact us and then we can let you know how to go about it. But if not, you can wait for your visa decision to come out and hopefully it is accepted. And if your school has deferred you, you can then work with them for January. But if you have dependents and you really want to move with your dependent, then the only option for you right now is to try to get a space in the December intake. That's the only option currently for you. Get a new offer and start a new application for January. But this is a completely new school, completely new fees. You might not be able to get out the previous money you have paid to your current school in time, but you'll be able to move with your family, right? So for those of us that are just joining, I'm talking about NSF emails and updates, because I had a live, I think a couple of weeks ago, where I talked about people receiving emails, why you receive emails, the kind of documents you need. But we've had more updates, especially people who have missed their resumption timeline. Also, a lot of people are having interview invites, and after interview, even receiving the NSF email. Such a funny occurrence. After the interview, they then now receive an NSF when you have already interviewed them. Okay, so a lot of things have happened, and that is what we have addressed here today. So if you have questions, you can let me have them, and I think we have maybe 10 minutes or thereabouts for me to be able to answer your questions. So please just drop them and I'll be able to answer them. Okay, so I don't have questions. Guys, do you not have NSF questions? My DM, the reason why I decided to do this update was because our DMs and my private WhatsApp, not private, my official WhatsApp line has been going ring, and it's all because of NSF emails and UKVI delays, and all over the world. I've had from India, from Pakistan, from Ghana, from Kenya, from Nigeria, so from a whole lot of places, a lot of people having this NSF issue, and a lot of people that's just so agitated, a lot of people that have invested so much, emotional, financial, a lot of things happening, and this has basically not happened like this before. We've had delays. There's always delays when it comes to rush hour. That is why we always advise people, start your application in time, finish up your process in time, apply for your visa in time. That's just the best thing, because when it gets to the rush hour, when it gets to the time when everybody, not just in Nigeria, everybody across the globe is applying to study at that particular time, I'm not thinking, or I'm going to assume that the UKVI is not going to employ more staff just for that 2-3 months period to process applications faster. No, it's still going to be the same staff working with the same time frame, maybe working from 8 to 5, right? And they're not going to now maybe add 3 or 4 hours extra because they have more applications. So what now happens is that you are the one that's going to suffer. It means your application is going to take longer. And this is the reason why we always advise, when you've decided to school, know that you have made up your mind and get everything ready and be amongst the first. We had people who have gotten their visa since June, July, depending on the school, if you were able to get your cars on time, out on time. A lot of people got their visas in early August. They've forgotten that there's anything called, visa. They are in school, they've resumed, everything is going on fine. But then you now have people who are just putting in their application in September, in middle September, in late September. You're paying for priority, and priority is not prioritizing, right? They are not prioritizing your application. You're paying for super priority that is supposed to take 1 to 2 days, and super priority taking 2, 3, 4 weeks. Do you understand? So they are not, they might collect your money, but they will not attend to your application in the timeline that they have given. So the best bet really is apply early. So for people who unfortunately are going to miss out because their school is just not cooperating with them, and you're going for January, try to finish up everything in time, because I am predicting that this same issue is going to surface in January, but it's going to be around December, January, right? So it's also going to surface. So anything that can help you apply in early to late November, your best bet. Okay, so for people who want to go with their families, December is your best bet. After that, then you won't be able to go with your families. Okay, my brother is having his NSF issue. I want someone to coach him to prepare for the interview. Does he have the interview invite already? If he does, then of course we can coach him. I don't know, I'm lagging. I hope you guys can actually hear me. If he doesn't, then maybe I can, if you can send me a message, send a DM, and then they'll send it to me, and I can provide the questions for him that he can just practice. But if he does have an email for an interview, then we can now prep him for the interview. But there's no need wasting time, because it takes hours, right? We're going to have maybe 2-3 hours of prep, and if you don't have an interview invite, why are we prepping you? It's just a waste of time, right, and energy. But we can provide questions so he can practice on his own, just in case he receives an email. What if I get a denial while waiting for my decision to come out? Can I still apply for another school in December? Yes, if you get a denial, you can apply for another school, but your reason for denial should be addressed. So it all depends on the reason for denial. So if the reason for denial was like a mistake on your part, say maybe you needed 20 million, you had 19,800,000, right? You can apply again and make it 20 million or 21 million, and then in your application you put an explanation saying that with the fluctuations happening in Nigeria, that you had not calculated correctly, and now you have added additional funds that will make you eligible for your visa. Then you can go ahead to provide where those funds came from. Because okay, additional funds came from my spouse, additional funds came from my father, or from the sale of my personal property, or from my savings. Do you understand? So that's easy for you to explain. But if the reason for the refusal is more serious and it's not a circumstance you can change immediately, then you might not be able to apply. So if this is your case, you can get to me. My name is Roseline. DM, ask for Roseline, or go to our link in bio. Click on chat with the visa officer. You're going to get directly to me. I can see the letter. If the letter is not a problem, then yes, we can do another application. But if the letter is a problem, you might need to wait out maybe 1 year to next year September before you can apply again. So, applied for a visa, priority, was scheduled for an interview, which I did, but it's over 5 days now and no response from the embassy. What should I do? So, honestly, there's almost nothing you can do except maybe send an inquiry email or a call. But if you join me at the beginning of this session, I read out what the generic email you're going to get. I'm going to read it out again. It says, please accept our apologies for the delay. Having checked your application, I can see your case is currently under consideration and is being worked on. As you have previously advised, the processing of your application has not been straightforward, and we will be unable to decide this within our customer service targets. So you're going to get a generic email like that. For some people, maybe they might now have more specific things, because I've had people who they requested for more information from them after sending an email. But in most cases, it's a generic email like this. But if a decision has been made, then you will get a response letting you know that a decision has been made. Wait for the UKVI to contact you. So those are the two cases. So you just to fulfill all righteousness and maybe to help sort of quell your anxiety, you can send a paid inquiry. I'm asking for updates on your application. Is there a possibility that POF is an issue that would cause a delay in getting visa? Yes, it's a very possible scenario, and I think I spoke about it in the last live. If you want to hear way more about it, you can go watch that one, but I'm going to answer this question. So yes, your POF can be an issue. So if your bank is delaying in responding to the UKVI, so say you use a bank that usually they have a timeline that they respond when the UKVI reaches out to them for it to check if your account is genuine and your funds and all that. Now, if the bank does not respond, then they have to wait. They will not make a decision until they get a response. So if your bank takes a long time to respond, then it can be an issue. Now it raises question as to why are they not responding. Is the account fake? Is the amount inside not reflective of what the person has provided? Yada yada yada. They will definitely want to confirm. And most people that have maybe they are not using like direct financial institutions such as normal banks like GTB, Zenith, EcoBank and stuff. You're using like a microfinance bank that maybe has just one or two branches across in the country. UKVI does not have their direct contact. So how they contact them is through the CBN. So they contact CBN. CBN contacts the microfinance bank, whichever microfinance bank you have decided to use. Then the microfinance bank responds to CBN. CBN responds to them. So you can see that it's a round trip, and this trip can take longer. For some people, it's a short trip because your microfinance is very active. But for some other people, the person that is supposed to respond to this email is sleeping. So they don't respond in time, and if they don't get a response in time, they would leave your application. And if it passes a particular stage, they will actually deny you because they have not been able to confirm your bank statement. So some people, I've heard of some people who actually go to their bank to request if the UKVI has contacted them and they've responded, and they've gotten affirmative responses saying that, we got an email and we have responded appropriately. Of course they cannot show you, but they'll let you know that they've responded. Or if they are wasting time, you want to start screaming the whole hall down, saying that you don't be the reason why my dinner is refused. My visa is refused. I said dinner maybe because I'm hungry. December intake is still on. Yes, we have a couple of schools for December, about 2 schools, not a couple. Yeah, well, a couple is 2, yeah, right? So we have 2 schools. If you're interested in this, you can reach out to us, and then we'll give you the schools and the courses. Courses are limited, majorly in management courses, so you might not have all the options in the world, but yes, their courses are still available for December, but maybe for the next 1 to 3 weeks you might still have that opportunity. No interview yet. We submitted applications the 12th of September. I think interview might come up. This my brother look too dull to me. Needs coach on time. Okay, I don't think there's anybody that is dull, please, except he's going for a course that he's not interested in or isn't prepared for. So that's fine. Or John 8780. Go to my DM. Go to our either our DM or our link in the bio, and send the visa officer a message. So if you click on that, you're coming straight to my WhatsApp. If you go to the DM, request for Roseline, they'll give you my direct link to my WhatsApp, so you'll be able to chat with me. Or maybe Agatha, if you put my WhatsApp link here, I might be able to pin it, and then people can just click on it. I think there's a way they can do that. I don't know. My daughter has applied for a course at BCU. She's waiting for her CAS so she can apply for visa for January 2024. Is any help to hasten the CAS? Yes. We actually work directly with BCU, and there are certain things that you might want to do for you to be able to get your CAS. Although, of course, people can go through this process and work with the normal timeline. But if there's any delay, we have a direct one-on-one link or communication with them, so we can actually help hasten up where there are delays. So if you O2PK, if you want to chat with me, like I said, direct DM, they'll send you to me, or our link in the bio, speak with the visa person, and it comes to me. Then we can help to fast track this. If you've paid your fees, of course she needs to do a precast, but we can prep for the precast. And now the precast is online. It's recorded, so you have questions, you record your answer, so we can prep for that. So if you what waste time is if you don't take your precast in time, right? If you don't take your precast in time, your bank statement is not ready in time, and then maybe they're because they want 3 months. I hope you are aware that BCU requests 3 months bank statement. So if you have large inflows and outflows and things like that, those might waste time. But we can help you review this and isolate anything that can cause unnecessary delays and help you fast track it. So do you understand? So if you want that, please get to us. It's completely free of charge, so you don't have to be worried about any service fee. Can someone still apply for January intake for MSc pre-registration accelerated nursing? Yes. There are schools that are still open. Not all schools, but a lot of schools are still open. So if this course is open in a school that is still open, then yes. But if all schools are closed for this particular course, then you might have to wait till maybe May, June, or September next year. But please reach out to us. We'll be able to give you that information. Your explanations are very clear. Great teacher. Thank you so much. Request to be in your live. Oh, Atun. Let me see if I want to. Was this a mistake or Atun? Maybe just give one. I'm really, 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 really sorry about what people are going through. It's been an agitating um, time for a lot of people. So much waiting. UKVI for me is not even the main issue, because if you've done a good job, regardless of whether you're asked for more documents or an interview, it's a done deal. Most people get their visas, right? The main issue is the schools. The schools who are not willing to extend um, the resumption timeline for people. So we still have testimonies for people. Today is not gone. We still have a lot of time within the day. We have tomorrow, and then we have Friday. So hopefully we're going to have a lot of good news for people. But if that is not the case, hammer on your school to give you an extension. Roll on the floor. Do anything that is possible. If they can extend it for you, then in most cases you will get your visa and you'll still be able to make resumption. She has done her precast and gotten an email saying congratulations. Also, account sent to, but just waiting for class. Oh, okay. That's on. Oh, that's awesome. All right. So please reach out to me. O2PK, or Agatha, if you're here, maybe you just click on her and send her a direct DM, and then we can chat. Okay. Thank you so much, guys. Do we have more questions? Um, do we have more questions? Or do I end live now? You guys can always reach out to us if you have personal um issues that are not addressed here. I can't possibly address every single thing, but there are certain things that are peculiar to you that you might want specific answers for. It's completely free to reach out to us and ask questions. We will give you questions. You don't have to be a paying client. That's one thing that we do, because I'd rather you get your visa, whether you're working with us or not, than for you to either not get it or have a very hard time with it. So you can reach out to us for inquiry, reach out to us for clarifications, for questions. It's all right. Please do that. Okay. Thank you so much, and bye bye for now until we meet again. Okay. Bye. So I'm trying to end this and it's not okay.